Let's get started. All right. So the main reason that I wanted to put this together is because I literally am getting messages every day, personal messages from you guys asking about systems and processes and how to build your business and delegating and all those kinds of things. It seems like the most prominent question I'm getting is systems. So are most of you using TC workflow at this point?
Yeah.
I am.
Sort of, yes.
Sort of.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I know they're converting to open to close, which apparently we don't have to convert to. We can still continue to use TC workflow. Um, but it really doesn't matter. What I always tell people is it doesn't matter as much as what you use as what you have in it. For example, people will ask me all the time, what do you use? And I say TC workflow, and they'll say, well, I just don't understand how you use it like that. Mine doesn't work that way. Well, the reason that mine works like it does is because of the checklist in it. And your software will only be as good as the system, the checklist that you have inside of it. So, for example, when you get TC workflow, it's not going to come with anything. You can purchase some of their template checklist, and I mean, those will be better than nothing. But depending on what state you're in, like I'm working with TCs all across the United States, and in Texas, we call the period that a buyer purchases in order to get inspections and back out, we call that an option period. In other states, it's called an inspection contingency. In other states, it's called a due diligence date. So it really depends on what state you're in. And so if you buy a template, you're probably going to have to manipulate it quite a bit in order to get it to fit what you're doing. And so rather than spending money on a template, I always encourage TCs to build their own checklist. I mean, really, it's going to be just as easy as purchasing one, and you can manipulate it to be as specific as you want it to be. And then, of course, TC workflow will allow you to drop email templates in, make everything date sensitive. And I think Folio does that as well, and TC Docs. But again, the software that you're using is only going to be as good as the checklist that you have within it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So are all of you guys using checklist at this point?
Yes.
Yes.
And no one be afraid to say no. You can say no if you're not. No one in here.
I don't use checklists anymore. I just use my Google spreadsheet and that's it. And yeah, that's it. And I only use TC workflow to do emails so that it can auto populate. So that's really all I use it for.
And what volume are you at right now?
I have about 25 that I'm working with a month. I'm ready to do more. We just picked up a bunch of new clients because it was slow over the holidays. So now I'm nervous to see how March and April's going to be. But yeah, we're probably only working like 25, 30 hours a week, if that. And that's just kind of taking our time.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always tell the people that I talk with or that I coach is efficiency is going to mean everything to you. For example, some of y'all probably used to see me post my numbers up in the TC Empowering TCs before they banned me from the group. And people were like, there's no way that you do that many transactions. Like I think currently right now I have 92 files, and then most of my TCs work anywhere from 40 to 50 a month. And they're just like, there's no way you can do that and work 3 to 4 hours. Well, there is. And in fact, Lauren, who is on here, Savannah, who is on here, and I think there's a couple others, I have coached and shown them my system, and they will all attest that's what I do. And the reason I'm able to do that is because of the checklist. The more efficient and streamlined you are in your checklist, the less hours you're going to have to work. You really want to be able to have what you're doing really just be a click. You don't want to have to put too much effort into it, because if you're hoping to grow your volume and expand, you have to have a system that is almost plug and play for anybody who joins your team. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. What questions do y'all have on that so far?
This is Caroline. I just introduced yourself to me, introduced myself as someone who literally just started. I'm curious to know how you do that, because you work with several states.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned to you, I literally just started as a junior coordinator under a TC.
Mhm.
And she just gave me my first client. We're all in Virginia. But I also do work for her for someone in Texas. So I'm very curious to, do you have different templates for different states? Because we cover Texas, Connecticut, New York, California,
Yes.
Virginia. So you
Yeah.
have a template, or you have a checklist? Well, you had to have a checklist for each state, because as you mentioned, every state calls something else. But is that what you have in place?
Yes. So for each state that I'm in, I have a checklist for that state. Because,
Okay.
for instance, I have an intro email that goes out the day I go under contract. One that goes to the client, the buyer or the seller, and then one that goes to the vendors, like the title company, lender, the other agent, or the escrow officer, or the attorney, depending on if you're an attorney state.
Yes.
And the language in those emails are different. For example, in the intro email, I have your option period ends on
Right.
X date, and then it has a short explanation. The option period is the term that the buyer purchases for whatever.
Wow.
I can't put that in say Virginia, Georgia, because they don't use the term option period. They use the term inspection contingency.
Right.
So I had to create a different checklist for that. And so whatever state we're in, we just launched that particular checklist.
Wow.
The great thing about a template checklist is you can take a template and drop it into another checklist and just change some of the terminology. So it
Okay.
becomes very, very easy to do.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Do you draft documents?
It depends. So here's one of the things that all the people I coach, and in fact, Terry's on here right now, and she'll tell you for the last 2 days, she probably thought I was going to kill her because. So, here's my philosophy. Okay, if you set a precedent with your agents that you will go outside of the scope of what you do, they will take advantage of you every single time you turn around. Then what will happen is, if you set that precedent in the beginning of, oh, hey, Dustin, I forgot that. Will you knock that out for me? Ah, sure, I got it. Then what's going to happen is a day or two later, oh, Dustin, hey, I also forgot this. Will you go ahead and knock that out? Then it's hard for you to backtrack and say no. Well, but you did it that one time. So, Lauren, are you there?
Yeah,
What do you live or die by?
your checklist.
Yay! See, Lauren is someone I coached. You live or die by your checklist. So, Lauren, your checklist is your,
Bible.
yes, your checklist is your Bible. See? So, Dustin, do you do X, Y, or Z? Here's what I do. I go by my checklist. Dustin, can you do this? Here's what I do. I go by my checklist. What happens is most TCs work out of a fear mentality, and they think, well, if I don't do that, they're going to take away their business. Look, if that agent takes their business, let them take their business, because what's going to happen is that one person is going to suck all of your time, and the time that you spent on them being a pain in your rear, you could have spent lead generating and got 5 agents for that one you're spending time on. So you cannot live in fear when you're doing your work. You live or die by your checklist. Whatever your checklist says, that's what you do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, what else? These are good.
I have a question. So I'm an unlicensed TC in Virginia, and I have an agent in California, and he just recently asked me to um, fill out the purchase agreement for him. And I've already told him no, that I cannot do that, but he's asked me twice, and I feel like he's really pressuring me to fill out the purchase agreement. And I don't know how else I can tell him no. I mean, I said that. I told him the reasons why. Why are you asking me again? I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. Okay. So, however you respond, whatever way you word things, you never want to just take something away, because then it leaves a bad taste in the agent's mouth. Whenever you take something away, you want to take it away in such a way that they feel like you just gave them a positive, right? So, hey, Dustin, can you write that contract? No, that's outside of the scope of what I do. Oh, okay, cool. I understand. A day later. Hey, Dustin, do you think you could write that contract? No, that's outside of the scope of what I do. A day later. Hey, Dustin, do you think you could write this contract? Hey, listen, Barbara, I really appreciate you reaching out to me about this, but look, one of the things that is super important to me as a transaction manager is protecting the agents that I work with. It's really important to me. If I, as an unlicensed person, especially in a different state, write up something for you and anything goes wrong, that is going to fall back on you, not me. So even if a lawsuit were to happen and I somehow got involved, because you had the fiduciary relationship to the client, that is going to fall back solely on you, and you could get sued. And I just don't ever want that to happen. So really what I do is I keep everything in this certain scope. That way I protect you as the agent. Does that make sense? And they go, okay. So
Yes.
you can't ever just take away. You want to take away and give something back.
Right. Right. And I did tell him that, but he said, "Oh, well, once you do it, I'm going to review it." And I'm thinking in my head, sure. Still no.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, if you end up with someone who, and Lauren and I went through this when she was growing, if you get someone who ultimately will not respect your integrity, just part ways. And you can do that in a very positive way too. I've had to fire a bunch of agents over the years. I mean, I'll just tell them something like, hey, look, the way we do business is very, very different. I don't think that this would be a good relationship. I can't meet your needs, unfortunately. But what I can do is refer you to a couple of people. So again, you're taking away, you're protecting yourself, but you're giving something back.
Right. Absolutely. Which I did offer to help find him a licensed TC. So he's supposed to get back to me on that.
All
So
right.
we'll see.
If he keeps bugging you, just block his number.
Right.
Dustin,
Yes, ma'am.
what do you feel about becoming licensed to offer more services? I'm actually interested in becoming licensed so that I can offer more services like the contract writing, or maybe even going into the home inspection. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about that. They feel like it's not worth, no matter what they pay you, it's not worth the time you're away from the files. But I'm really strongly considering getting my license. I just wanted your thoughts.
Okay. Any TC I've coached in this room knows my answer to this. What you need to do is look at what makes you the most money for the time you're going to spend on it. Okay. I can tell you right off the bat, don't ever go to inspections. Think about it like this. If you have, let's say, 15 contracts a month that you're closing, let's say 10 of those are buyers, and you're going to 10 inspections. It's going to take you at least 2 hours to drive there, stay for the inspection just for a little bit, and then come back. So 2 hours times 10 is 20 hours. How much are you going to make off of those 20 hours going to an inspection? About a quarter of minimum wage. That's what you will make off that. That is not worth your time. What also happens is then you have contract to close over here, which will make you a lot of money, going to inspections over here, which will not. And the more inspections you go to, it starts to do this. And now you're making a lot less money because you're doing this over here. So I would say right off the bat, I don't go to inspections. I don't go to closings. I don't do any of that. Writing contracts and listing agreements, that's a preference. There are some TCs that do it. I don't. I used to when I started my company in 2007, and in 2009 I started doing contracts and listing agreements, and I would charge $25 a pop, and I had a Google Doc, and I just sent them the link. They filled everything out. I went into zip forms, I wrote the stuff, and then I sent it off to get signed. Seems easy enough, right? Here's the issue. You get the contract back, you send it to the listing agent, you copy your agent, and you say, hey, so-and-so, here's the offer on 123 Jump Rope Lane. Would you please send that back once it's signed and executed or ratified, depending on the state you're in? They come back and they say, oh, well, I just noticed that it has my seller paying for the survey. We didn't agree to that. Now you have to go back and ask your agent, is that right? And you have to wait for that response. And they say, oh, yes or no. And then you have to go back in and change the document. Then you have to send it back over to the listing agent. If you send it to the client and the client says, nope, that's not what we agreed to, we need to do this. Now you have to go to the agent. Now you have to get everything rewritten and re-signed again. And you're looking at $25 for that. Meanwhile, I can be lead generating to pick up another agent or 2 or 3 at $400 a pop for contract to close. So for me personally, I look at the cost of my time versus what I'm going to make, and that just does not make sense to me. Danielle just said, I'm licensed. I can vouch for what he says. Pick one. Yeah. And again, it's a personal preference. So if that's what you want to do, then that's great. I would say though, after a certain amount of time, when your transaction management business picks up, eventually you're going to have to let something go. In fact, Lauren, who spoke a minute ago, I made her, when I coached her, I made her let go of her listing management and stuff. And she fought me on it, and she was scared. And, oh my gosh, Dustin, now I'm giving up money. You're wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I kept saying, please just trust me. And y'all message her about what happened to her business. Because when your focus is off of your one thing, it means you are not making as much money or building the volume on that one thing because you're distracted over here.
Okay.
The other piece of that, like speaking like from experience, there's no like the offer and listing part of it isn't it's not predictable and it has to be done right now. Where like a contract to close, like you can open that file, and if you have 10 of them, you can get them open and move on. But if you have 50 pendings you're working on, and then 3 offer requests come in and 6 MLS entries, and they all need done in the next 24 hours, like your 4-hour day just turned into a 12-hour day. And like, for me, that's not sustainable with 2 little kids. Like I can't.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So think about it like this. Let's say you have, 20, 30, 40 transactions, whatever, and you're right in the middle of doing something important, and an agent texts you or emails you or calls you and says, hey, I just sent you an offer. We need to get it submitted right now. It's a multiple offer situation. You have to drop everything you're doing at that point, because now they're in a multiple offer situation. If you say, no, I cannot do that right now, You literally just took away with nothing to give back, because you can't say, well, I can't do that right now, I'll do it in a little bit, because they just told you they're in a multiple offer situation. There's far too many variables with that versus contract to close is so static. It's the same thing every single day. Great point, Lauren.
Okay.
Mike- Oh, sorry. Carolyn, did you have something you want to say? Sorry.
No, I'm just silently taking that all in, and I
Sorry,
don't know
I
what
don't
to
wanna
do,
interrupt
except
you.
I'm taking it all in.
So I guess my question is, when it comes to like these things that you don't, that you shouldn't really be doing, does it make sense, like if you have a company, to maybe bring somebody on that's interested in getting involved in this and having them do that? And so you're still able to satisfy the agent, but,
This is the question I get every single time. Okay,
oh, good.
so let's put that into a real perspective for a second. So I am Dustin. I own my company. It's doing very well for contract to close. And someone hounds me enough about writing contracts. And I think, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hire someone to do that. And I'm going to charge $25 per contract. And I'm going to take $5 from that. They're going to make 20. How many contracts do they have to write in a week in order for that to come out to a decent salary per month? Well, let's say they want to make $2,000 a month. So now they've got to do 500 a week at $20 a pop. That's a butt ton of contracts that they're going to have to write. Meanwhile, I'm making $5, and because my name is on this process, I have to come up with the process and I have to manage the process. Because if one thing goes wrong, who does that come back on?
Yeah.
That comes back on you. It doesn't matter if you say, well, I just found out that person was on crack and they're in rehab now. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say. Their mom died, their dog got hit at the same time, and they can't find their son. It doesn't matter what you tell them. They go, well, you messed up. And now your name is marred because of a process where you were going to make $5. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Perfect sense.
What else?
I have a question about E&O insurance. And currently I'm building a team. So should I pay for E&O insurance for my entire team?
Okay.
Because we're all unlicensed.
Okay. So this is a great question, and it's going to move us into the other thing that everybody wanted to talk about, which is delegating. So E&O is important. I carry E&O. It's very cheap to carry E&O. I think my policy covers up to like $2 million, but I pay, I think, like 80 something dollars a month for it. I mean, it's really relatively inexpensive. And it does cover anyone on your team. But speaking of teams, this is, in my opinion, this is a massive, massive thing that TCs need to talk about, and they don't. Do not grow a team until you have a system in place that will make them drool. Okay. If you don't have a system in place, software and a system in place that you can take and just stick someone on and they go, oh, click, 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 don't start a team. Because again, what's going to happen when you start a team? Your focus should be like this. You should have myopic focus on contract to close. So if you build a team, now you go like this because you're building a team. Now you have to go like this because they need training and managing and all these other things. So building a team is great. I mean, that's what I've done. And now I have mailbox money coming in all the time. But I had to have a value proposition for those TCs to buy into. Okay. So that brings me to the other part. Do you do salary or 1099? Never, ever, ever, ever build a team on salary. Don't ever do that. Make them 1099. And here's why. 2 reasons. One, tax purposes. Having people under you salaried is so expensive. It is so expensive. It is also a ton of pressure because you're having to somehow provide this income for these people because people need an income. I mean, you know, the second reason is if you hire an employee, they will always have an employee mentality. They will check in and check out. And during the day, if they're making only a certain amount, even if it's like a flat salary plus bonuses on closed transactions, they're still not going to push because you're giving them a certain salary. A 1099 employee who you give the systems to and give them the training and give them the managing, they will grow an empire because they own a company. They're not an employee, they're a business owner. So for example, all of my TCs, they see the value of what they're getting. That's why I get the split that I do off of their transactions. My top TC last month in December made $14,000. That's a TC making a split. But she didn't do that because she's an employee. She did that because she's a business owner. And she knows it. That's the mindset she has. So I gave her the systems, I gave her the software, I gave her the reputation of my name. And then I helped her learn how to grow that business. And once she realized how to grow that business and understood that there was no cap, she could do this, man, she ran like wildfire with it. Now, most of my other TCs, they close about 40 to 50 transactions a month. They're making like anywhere from 8 to 10 grand a month, and they're happy with that. But others will, I mean, they will skyrocket. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It makes sense.
And Elisa just said, I'm in Indiana, and if I were to hire someone to manage transactions, I'd have to hire W-2. Here, we cannot hire someone 1099 that would be doing the same thing. Hiring from a company like Level, for example, would that be an option? I'm not sure why you wouldn't be able to have someone 1099. If you have an S Corp or an LLC, and that is your company, you should be able to have someone who's 1099. Elisa, maybe get with me after the meeting and let's go over that, because I'd be interested to find out why the laws are like that.
Yep, definitely will. Thank you.
Okay, good. Did what I say about the delegating and the hiring, did that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Everybody else is so quiet.
Hey, I'm
Yes.
curious if you have
Yes.
do you have like one-on-ones with your team, like on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? Like,
Okay, so here's another thing that freaks people out. I haven't talked to my top TC face to face in 6 months,
mhm.
and she lives in the same city. I just, the systems I have in place make it so that I just don't have to do that, because again, I don't want to micromanage someone. I don't want that. That takes my time away from what I'm doing, which is lead generating and getting more business. Could you have those weekly meetings? Yeah, I mean, sure you could. And I'm not saying that would be bad. It might be a good thing.
I don't have them.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know that you should. I mean, if they're doing the work that they're supposed to do, and if they're not, you'll find out.
Mhm.
You will quickly find out. I mean, an agent will call you and say, "Hey, I'm working with Alyssa, and she's, so if your systems are in place and the person that you have on your team has that business owner mentality versus an employee, you shouldn't have to manage them at all.
Mhm.
So you have your TCs, um, like what software do they use for you?
They use my TC workflow.
Okay.
So I have in my TC workflow, I can log in as the master user and I can drop down their names and I can see all their transactions and what they're doing. I don't do that because I don't need to. Like, for instance, Savannah's on here. Savannah's actually on my team. She was a solo TC, and I hired her to be on my team, and she very quickly started making pretty good pretty good money working with me. But I never micromanage her. I mean, I just, she has my systems. I'm there to help for whatever she needs, but I don't want to micromanage her. The people that you hire, you need to be able to trust.
Um, a follow-up to that, just because my situation is that I'm on a team where I'm one of three people, and we were talking about a checks and balances just in case, God forbid, something happens to us, so that the next person would know where to pick up. Should something happen to me, they should be able to continue the
Mhm.
work. So we were looking at meetings just for that reason, like, hey, this week I'm, closing this, this, that inspection or what have you. So what checks and balances do you have in place if something happens to one of your TCs and they can't do the work? They might be in hospital or just not available, and that's so that the next person can pick up.
Okay. So, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. You should be able to jump in. If something happened to one of my TCs, I should be able to jump into their TC workflow
Mhm.
and look and see exactly where they're at. For example, this closes on the 28th, and the next task that has to be done is when the settlement statement comes in.
Okay.
So I should be able to jump into any transaction. Hold on, I'm having to move you guys. I should be able to jump into any transaction and see exactly what's going on in the checklist immediately. That way, no matter where I'm at, no matter what's going on, I can jump in and look at see exactly what they're doing. Because everything's date sensitive and it lets me know exactly what's going on. If you don't have a system in place and you don't have a checklist that is unbelievably thorough, then you will have to rely on something like a spreadsheet or, God forbid, a whiteboard up on the wall or something like that.
Okay.
And then that is going to make things extremely hard for you
Mhm. Mhm.
because now you're having to, scan through emails and text them and call them. I mean, there's so much involved. But if your checklist is so comprehensive that you can jump into a TC's transaction and pick up right where they are,
Mhm.
then you're good to go if something were to happen.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Yep.
Do you
Uh,
time block?
Um, okay. So, yes and no. I am very disciplined about my time, um, because habits mean a lot to me. If my daily disciplines get thrown off, it throws me off mentally. Um, so for example, I get up every day at 5:15, I go to the gym, I come back, I have personal development every single day that I do. I have my, and just so I can prove it to you guys, so y'all don't think he's talking out of his butt, I have my book that I'm reading right now. And so every day I go to the gym, I come back, I do personal development, and then I start my day around a particular time, and I work usually 2 to 3 hours a day. Now, every single TC without fail that I have ever coached, I say, what is the first thing you do when you wake up? What's the first thing that you do when you wake up, Chelsea?
I chant. I'm Buddhist, so I chant for like an
Do you
hour.
really?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what most people say. I look at my phone and I start going email, 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 email. The minute you do that, your day is screwed because your mind goes and it's gone. Your mind is locked onto work, and then it's hard to, even if you were to try to go back and chant or meditate or do something, mixed in with that is, oh God, I have 27 emails, and you can't do that.
So yes, I do check my emails first, and then I chant. So yes.
See, I busted you. I knew it. I knew it.
Mhm.
Yes, see, and I bet you nearly every single one of you would say the same thing. You
It's a
can't-
glance. It's a glance.
yeah, a glance is the same thing. So Danielle, unmute yourself. So when I coached Danielle,
Oh man.
asked her the same thing, and she was like, "I check my phone," and I was like, "No." And what did I tell you to do?
Honestly, I don't remember. I'll be honest.
What did I tell
I'm
you?
still failing over here.
Okay, so remember what I said for personal time in the morning? What did you start doing that made a huge difference?
Well, I started talking like positive to myself and focusing on like what I was going to do and how I was going to make a difference and timed my day, to be honest.
And you were, if I remember correctly, you were making eggs for your husband and spending some time with him.
Yes,
Are you still doing that?
I brew the coffee now and make sure he has a muffin to go to work.
Okay. So
Distance
look,
learning affects it all.
so look, your personal development means everything. You have to work on yourself, and self-care means a lot. I have seen more TCs burn out in the 13 years I've been doing this than you can even believe. In
Mm.
fact, did y'all see on the Transaction Coordinators Unite group earlier? That
Yes, somebody was talking about leaving the business. She said it would broke her heart to consider it. But you know, this is such an interesting time though, because so much is going on. She might be trying to figure out how to do that, but it's COVID and she has 2 kids that have to be, you know, at school, at home. So, you know, she's pulled in different directions that she wasn't this time last year.
Yep. Yeah. And so what happens is if we don't consider self-care and personal development, we wake up every day in this exact same mindset. If you're in a pessimistic mindset, or if you're depressed, or you have anxiety, and I've had all those things when I first started for the first few years. Oh my gosh, there was one time that I literally picked my laptop up and almost threw it through a window, because I was just so overwhelmed, because I did not have systems and checklists in place, and I did not take care of myself. So I don't care what's going on. I have got to work on personal development. So for you married people, get up and do something together if you can. If that means you have to wake up a little earlier, wake up a little earlier. I mean, 30 minutes can make a massive difference. If you're single and you don't have a whole ton of responsibilities, get up and do something. Put on some music. You know what I mean? Put on some music you enjoy and sing and laugh, or read something, or make coffee and just go look at the sky for a little while. But you have to do something or you will go insane. You cannot just do work day in and day out, work day in and day out. You can't do that, because what that means is your validation is coming from your work, either the volume or the agents, and that goes like this, right? Which means your self-validation is going to go like this as well, and you cannot have that.
Hey, Dustin, I'm curious about when you bring someone new onto your team, what does training them look like?
It's usually pretty easy because my systems are, I mean, literally I tell people that a monkey could jump into my business and do my systems. So normally what it looks like is like I get applications all the time from people, and they'll say, "Hey, I want to join your team," and this and that. And so the very first thing I'll do is I'll have them take the DISC, the DISC, and see what their DISC is, because if their DISC does not fit, they will end up going crazy doing this. And so that's really important. And I learned that through Keller Williams when I used to work at Keller Williams International teaching classes, and the DISC became very important to me.
Is it an IC that you're looking for? Is that
Well, okay, yeah. So either an IC or an SI. Yeah.
Okay.
They've got to have some S or C, but they also have to have some I, because they've got to be able to talk to people. Here's what cracks everybody up who knows the DISC. I am an off the chart D. Like every single time I take it, my D is at the line and everything else is below midline. So how I do what I do, I don't know, but I do. And maybe it's because I'm so goal oriented that once I set that goal of what I wanted to accomplish, if I didn't accomplish it, I would have just killed myself. I don't know. But so the very first thing I do is I have them take a DISC, and then I have a long conversation with them. You know, I mean, what does your life look like right now? Are you married? Are you single? Do you have kids? What are your needs? I coached one girl. She didn't join my team, but I coached this one girl, and her husband was trying to retire. They had just bought land, and he was trying to retire so that he could produce something on this land and generate an income for them, and they never could hit that goal. And so goals like that are very important. If you talk to someone who wants to join your team and they're not super goal driven and they're not hungry, don't hire them, because then you're going to have to spoon feed someone, and you don't want to have to do that. You want someone who will come to you and say, like Savannah. I love Savannah. She's married. She has a baby. She's super sweet. She has a lot of integrity. And when I talked to her, I could tell she wanted to make money. And so that to me says a lot when I know that someone doesn't want me to spoon feed them. The other thing that you want to look for, and this is why conversations with these people are important. If you are talking with a prospect and the way that they speak is almost like you owe them something, that is not what you want. Whenever I talk to someone, I walk into it with the mentality I am offering them an incredible opportunity. You know, for example, every single one of my TCs besides Savannah is a single mom. And I have a huge heart for moms, because I grew up as a only child with a single mom. And I mean, we ate beans and Spam. We had nothing. And I don't want to see moms go through that. And so I am aware that I am offering them an opportunity, and they all make really good money right now, and they work from home and spend time with their kids. So that has to be an important win-win situation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good stuff, guys. Keep going. What else?
I have a question. So you said that you have people that come to you that want to apply. Um, what about like in my case, I don't have people coming to me. So when I'm looking for a TC, of course, I put it on social media, but I don't really get that much of a response. Is there some other place that I should look?
Don't even worry about that until you're ready for it. I mean, that it shouldn't even be on your radar until you can close a crap ton of deals a month and not work much, and you feel completely like you shouldn't even be worried about building a team. When you do get there, you probably won't have to push much to get someone. For example, my company is so big now and so well known that I mean, I just get people asking to join my team because they see what I'm doing. And so like agents will see, you know, golly, man, this guy's getting contracts and closing stuff, and they don't want to be an agent anymore. They can't cut it as an agent, which is fine. I mean, not everybody wants to be a realtor. And so they will approach me and say, hey, I've been an agent at, you know, EXP or Remax or whatever, but I don't want to do it anymore. Are you hiring right now? And once your name is out there, that will start to happen for you. But I wouldn't, I mean, I always tell people, don't put the cart before the horse, because if you build a company without an infrastructure in place that is rock solid, every single time I watch someone implode, it's because they've tried to grow big or grow quick without the foundation in place. You can't do that, because real estate is a super small community. Are there thousands and thousands of agents? Yes, but it is a small community. And if you overpromise and underdeliver, it will get around like that. Does that make sense?
It does. So when you say foundation, you're talking about having the system and the checklist together.
And that it has been tested and proven.
Okay.
I have a question. How do you create those systems and put everything, like the whole structure together, and at the same time, because you're stuck in production, how do you really like make it happen? Because
yes,
is there a way like that you can like sub hire someone to get that in place that already knows
yes,
what you need? And you only have to tell them like, here's what I have, just fix this and make it productive and make it happen while I work, and I don't have to worry about it because there's not enough hours in the day, in my case, enough.
yes. Well, and yeah, that is a great question. And look, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. Okay. Building a system and all the code and stuff that goes into it is not my forte. It is just not. If I tried to build what I have in TC Workflow, I would have probably blown up the software. I mean, I am just not good at that. And so what I did was I asked around, hey, who works with TC Workflow? Who knows how to do the systems and the checklist and all? And I talked to Shane, and he gave me a name. I called this person and Shane. I talked to Shane too. And I said, look, what I do is transaction management on crack. I mean, it is not what you normally see. So here's what I need. And he told me, him and the developers, they had never seen systems like mine before. And I had to work with them on how to integrate what I do in with TC Workflow. And once they knew, he gave me a number and I said, get it done, man. I'll send you the check right now. And that's what I did. And in 2 days, they had it up and running. So it's the 80-20 law again, right? And everybody here should know the 80-20 law. You want to spend 20% of your time or 80% of your time doing the 20% that makes you the most money. You don't want to spend 80% of your time doing the 80% that doesn't. And code and building all that stuff, that's not my 80%. My 20% is lead generation. So that's what I want to spend my time doing. So I paid someone to do the other stuff, and it was well worth it.
I have a follow-up question about that, your analogy of cart before the horse and about building a team. What do you do if you're at capacity and you can't take on any more work?
What's your
You're at your own personal limit, and maybe you're at a point where you're turning work away that you'd like to do.
No. Don't ever say that.
Right, which is why I'm asking about how do you balance that when you are in a situation where you're at your personal capacity, to still do what you do and love what you do.
Okay.
And you know that you need to really start considering putting a team together.
Okay. Lauren, I'm going to call on you real quick. So hopefully I don't make you mad at me. When we first started coaching, what was your capacity at that point?
Things are falling apart at like 17, 18 pendings.
Yeah. And in fact, if I remember correctly, you were just about to go jump into an ocean.
Yes, that with the caveat, like there was also offers and listings and all of that other noise.
And what is your capacity now?
I don't know. I don't know what that number is. So like to give you an idea, I have like 35 right now and I'm bored. So like I don't know what that number, like I couldn't tell you I'm going to top out at this because I haven't hit that point yet.
That is so exciting. I didn't know that. Okay, good. So Lauren's now at 35 contracts and she's bored. I have 92 files and I worked about 2.5 hours today and did some Zoom calls with some TCs. When I hear the word capacity, the very first thing I think is they don't have good systems in place. That's the very first thing I think. And that's, y'all are going to hear me anytime we talk, y'all are going to hear me say systems and checklists, systems and checklists, systems and checklists. And David Breckheimer, if he were on the call, he'd tell you the exact same thing. It is systems and checklists. So when you say capacity, unless you are at an incredible number and you're working 40 hours a week, that word should never come out of your mouth. But hypothetically, let's say you really are at capacity. Well, that means you have a software, you have a system, and you have value in place to where you can take someone and go, hey, you want to make good money? Boink, and you plug them right in. And then now you've duplicated yourself. That's all you've done. All my TCs are literally just duplicates of me. They're just prettier.
Got it.
But
Question.
if you're at capacity and you don't have something that someone can just jump right into, that means you're not actually at capacity. That means you just don't have good systems and software in place. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So many of you were quiet.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Sheena!
You go.
I know that I've watched your videos, I've heard you talk to people and systems and checklists, and I do have a checklist, but I know it's not beefed up like it should be. So where does someone start with like really getting your checklist to that point where it's automatic? Because I would love to increase my capacity, but I know that my checklist and my system is where I'm holding myself back.
Okay. What are you at right now?
Right now I'm barely working. Like all my agents went on vacation, so I have a few, but normally I top out at like 20.
Okay, good. That's good. So interesting you bring this up because Savannah, who I think is still on the call. Yeah, she is. She's on my team. She was just talking about the other day, I think on what's today? Saturday. She was talking about making video tutorials of me doing that with my systems and some of the coaching that I do on systems, mindset, and lead generation. There's Anna. And then she and I putting that out for you guys to purchase. That way y'all would literally just have everything at your fingertips. So is that something that you guys would be interested in if I did?
I would definitely be.
Yes.
Yep.
I would.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Savannah, there's your answer. Yeah, because look, so when I coach people, it's a 3-month thing because I don't feel like I should have to coach people forever. If I have to coach someone forever, that means they want to be babied, and I'm not good at babying. In fact, ask Terry, who's on this call. She probably hates me half the time. Right? Right?
I
Yeah.
don't hate you.
So I do it a 3-month coaching, and the first month is systems and checklist, where I literally rip what you're doing apart and revamp it, because most people micromanage their own checklist, which I just don't comprehend. Then the second month is mindset, and mindset, in my opinion, is the biggest month, because most people work out of fear and insecurity. I did. And that's what we carry our past into our business. So for example, for me, and I tell the people that I coach this, I grew up in a very works-based home. So I was only raised by my mom. And my mom did not, she still doesn't know how to show love. So if I did enough, then she would show me love. If I didn't, she pulled that back. So what do you think happened with me? When I got into business, I wanted to do enough so that my agents would love me. Problem is, agents won't ever treat you how you deserve to be treated. Some of them will, but a lot of them won't. And so you end up I worked in this mentality of checks and balances that just never worked. I felt depressed and let down all the time. Then I started finding that my own self-value and worth came from the volume of transactions I did. And so I set a goal of 40 and I hit that and nothing changed. I set a goal for 50. I hit that, nothing changed. I closed 120 deals in a month one time by myself, and it still didn't do anything. And what I found was my self-value cannot come from my business. It just cannot. And so the second month that I do is mindset. I work on mindset with people a lot. And ask Lauren, she cried, I think, like 3 or 4 times. And then the third month is lead generation, and lead generation is fun. That's where the money's at. And so I think Savannah and I might come up with some videos, and I'll keep you guys all posted through the website on that.
Thank you.
I have a question. So what I actually meant to ask earlier, and I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with this. Do you task batch is what I meant to say. Is what you do in TC Workflow is task batching, or is it file by file?
See the retching I just did?
Okay.
I do not task batch. In fact, here, let me show you.
Okay.
So, oh, here it is.
No, pero te voy a preguntar es si el sistema de...
How do you get to it? I don't even know how to get to, oh, here, this. This screen makes me want to vomit.
Me too.
This screen, oh, I mean, look at it. This screen would make me want to vomit. I would just kill myself. I would wake up and look at this and go, well, I'm going to quit. There's just no way I could do that. So, and anybody I coach, you can ask them, they'll say, yep, he's right. This is what I do. I literally just do this every single day. And so like, this is done. This one's done. It closed. This one's done. It closed today. And all I'm waiting on is the final settlement statement. This one, I'm already ahead. I don't have a task due until the next day, which, by the way, this is one of the things I do that will revolutionize your life. I get a day ahead on all of my tasks. So for all of my tasks for today are for tomorrow, I did today. I scheduled them to go out tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning, all these emails are going to go out and I'm going to be playing with my boys or doing whatever. I mean, I get ahead every single day so that if I don't want to work that day, I don't have to.
I
But
like that.
task batching is nauseous. Ugh, no.
Dustin, what question?
Yes, sir.
Does your system work in any other software, or you just it work just?
It works in any software. I was using Transaction Point before I used TC Workflow. And the only reason I switched to TC Workflow is because you can schedule emails to go out the next day. And I knew that that would save me a whole bunch of time. That was the only reason I switched over. But Transaction Point did the exact same thing that TC Workflow does.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah, which
but
is a great point, Jorge, because that's what I was saying. It doesn't really matter what you use. It depends on how you use it.
but for TC Workflow, do you have to pay for each one of your TCs
Nope,
for each user?
nope.
Wait, what? Did you say no?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, you just share an account?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. You know, a lot of people will say like, "Oh, okay." I can't remember what Facebook group it was on. I lurk a lot in those face groups. I don't say anything anymore because everybody kicks me out. But someone said the other day they were talking about their company and all these inflated numbers they did, and I always know that I see right through that. And they were talking about how one of their TCs used TC Workflow, one of them used Folio, one of them used a spreadsheet. And I mean, the hair on the back of my neck stood up because I thought, what? I mean, your name is on anyone who works for your company. And I'm telling, I have just seen this so many, I've seen so many companies come and go. If you don't have something that is incredibly even across the board, you will go insane. There's no way to track that. And there's no way to make sure that the level of service that you're giving is going to be the same across the board. There's no way to do that. And that is a scary, scary thing to me. I want to know that anyone who joins my team, they're going to be using the exact same thing that I do, exactly the same way that I do it. And here's the other good thing about that. If you have an agent who doesn't like you, and I have lots of those because I'm super blunt, and some of the agents just, they don't like that. You know, they'll be like, Dustin, you come across gruff sometimes. And I'm like, I know. So what I'll tell them is, well, hey, do you want to work with Alyssa? Do you want to work with Savannah? Do you want to work with whoever? And they'll go, oh yeah, I'll give that a try. Like I just had a team that they close about 15 to 20 deals a month. And she called me and she was like, Dustin, look, I love your systems. I love your systems and I love what you do, but I just have a hard time with you. And I was like, okay. I mean, you know, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I know how I am. And I said, well, look, do you want to try Mia? You can try Mia. And she's really gentle. She's a really soft personality. And she was like, yeah, that would be great. She's been using her for like 3 months now. She loves her. But it's because it's the exact same system. It's literally exactly the same thing, just Mia and not me.
Nice.
So my head is kind of spinning over the fact that you just have one TC Workflow account, but your
Yes, me
people all
too.
work out of it.
I know.
Can
Wow.
we talk about that for a second?
Yeah. So the system that I have, it's It's exactly the same checklist. It's just a different user account. And I create the account, and then I just literally take my checklist and dump it into their TC workflow, and then just tweak a few of their things. That's it.
Oh, okay. So they have their account that they're working out of.
Yeah.
You fill it with okay. We're
Yes.
on the same page now.
Yeah,
I thought what I heard you say, what I thought you were saying
is
is
they're using
you
my
have
login.
one account
Right,
and
I thought
all
the
of the
same
TCs
thing.
are working contracts out of this one account. And I'm
No.
over here literally like, I don't know, convulsing a little bit
Yeah,
at that.
no. Yeah, that
So-
would have made me convulse too. No, they
All right.
they each have their own login, like Savannah, who's in the
Got it.
meeting right now. Savannah has her own login. She has her own checklist. And like, so Savannah picked up an account that does all wholesaling, which if you've ever done that is completely different than regular residential resale. And so we built her a checklist just for wholesaling.
Nice.
So now when she logs in and she drops down that menu and it wholesale checklist, boom.
Okay. Yeah. We're on the same page now.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the clarification.
So when you
Um,
work, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. Oh, Dustin, can we have, just before we close, because you want to do this till 9:30, can we talk a little about lead generation?
Yeah. If I asked any of you in here, what is your budget for lead generation, and you said anything more than a nickel, I would be really upset with you. You don't need a budget for lead generation. You don't need to spend any money on lead generation. You are your lead generation. And my Facebook account is a gold mine. If I challenge all of you this week to track me on Facebook and see what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that you will see is all the crazy things my kids do, because they're like me, they're just crazy. And postings about this contract closed, I just got this contract. Oh, look, another contract from, and the biggest mistake people make is they try and make it very formal. I am so impressed today with Allie, and the deal she did in Chelsea was this and blah. And they don't care about that. The stuff that I do, when you see it, you'll crack up. I mean, like here, let me read you. Here, let me just show you. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
This is my own personal account. Okay. I don't have a business account. So this is an agent that I just picked up. She sent me her first contract, and I said, you're going to get an offer on that one listing you just put up before Monday. This was on Friday. You were right. Got 4 offers. Sellers decided on which offer move forward on today. All done. So I'm going to get this contract tomorrow. And I send her a funny thing back. This was over text. So I post that and I tag her in it. How do you think that makes her feel?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that makes her feel?
Really good.
Really
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
We're muted. We're talking and we're muted.
So everybody likes to have their ego stroked. If all of y'all got on this thing and said, gosh, Dustin, you're so handsome with your cap on backwards, I'd be like, oh man, and I'd leave this thing super happy, right? Because everybody likes to be complimented. So then look, what's the next one? One of my agents that I work with posted a house, so I shared it.
Right.
Look,
I actually talked to the TC that I worked under to start doing that, if our agents would allow us to do that. If we could start tagging them when they sell and when they close.
Yep. So I just closed on this today with this agent, and this is the feedback I got from his clients. So I post that and I tag him in it. One of my agents posted an open house, so I did that 8 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 Bobs for sale in case anybody wants one.
That's hilarious.
So look, yawn, stretch, open email. What? Another contract from Roz? And then a funny GIF.
I like that.
I mean, this is what I do. This is what I do. Look at this. I got this testimonial yesterday from a brand new agent I picked up. I'm very excited to work with you. Blah, 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 whatever. and I post that. Hey, here's another contract from Sarah Reyes. I mean, this is all I do. This is my Facebook. Another contract from Anthony Shane. So Facebook is your moneymaker, but you got to use it. And then, so here's another couple things I do. If I work with an agent on the other side of a deal who I really like, and I think, oh man, that's a good agent, and I would like to try and earn their business, I'll post on Facebook and say, just closed a deal, and Chelsea Marks was the agent on the other side. Talk about a top-notch agent. And then Chelsea responds on Facebook, oh, you were great to work with. Thank you so much. And then the very next day, hey, Chelsea, by the way, I shoot her a text.
Yeah.
It looks like you're doing quite a bit of business. Have you ever considered a transaction manager? I've already stroked her ego. So, I mean, that kind of stuff has to become a habit. My lead generation at this point is such a habit that my business grows every single day. Every single day I get new agents and new contracts.
But you don't really need to do much lead generation anymore, right?
No, now it's become such a machine that now, I mean, it's just once you oil that machine and you put it into motion, I always warn people, if you get really good at lead generation, you better have an infrastructure in place, because once it starts going, it does not stop.
I have a question.
I was young and needed the money. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh wait, is my voice coming through or no? Can you
No,
hear
it
me?
is, yeah.
Okay, so my question is, I've noticed people have sometimes like on their website or forms they'll send to agents about filling it out once they're under contract. And I find that
cumbersome and
almost
annoying.
pointless. Like I almost like to just get the Rep C and fill it out myself, because then I get the story behind it. And half the time when agents fill out the forms, I feel like they're wrong anyway, like misspelling simple things.
Yeah.
But is that what you do? Do you just ask for the Rep C and a pre-qual letter and then you do it all yourself?
So look, I just got this contract from Kendra's an awesome agent. So watch here. Let me just do it while I got you guys on here. Oh wait, she's Fathom. I can never remember her thingy. Ugh. She doesn't have a Facebook account. She has like Powered by Fathom Realty or some kind of thing. Ah, dang it. I can't remember. But anyway, what I'm going to do in a minute, once I figure that out, is I'm going to post about getting this contract right off the bat. So do I make agents fill out a thing? No, because one, it annoys them. I don't want to annoy my agent. Two, 99% of what I need, I can get here. Here's the seller. Here's the buyer. Here's the closer. All the dates are on the contract. And I know that some of y'all's contracts are different, but they all have the same stuff. Here's the listing agent. Here's my agent. All the dates are on there. The only thing it doesn't look like I have is a lender letter, but I have everything else. But I wonder, look, there's the lender. So
Do
I
you
don't
just tell them most of the time, like I just tell my agents, just forward me the email between you and the other agent. And then I can also see if they've had any in between conversations as well.
Yep, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah, me too. Usually I just have to say, hey, can you send me their phone numbers? That
Yep.
It looks like that's all that I'm missing. I just need phone numbers.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. That's what I do.
Because everything in that email, I have everything I need. I literally don't need my agent for anything. Now, if you have an agent like Terry just got,
Ugh,
I'm going to pick on you, Terry. Well, actually, I'm not going to pick on you. I'm going to pick on your agent. This agent sent her this contract, and like one page was this big and one page was this big. And it was like page 1, page 2, page 9, seller's disclosure, page 5, page 3 of this, page 2 of, I mean, it, so yesterday I thought that she might cuss me out because I was just like, Terry, shh, stop talking. Because if you set that precedent, they will use and abuse you. So what do? You email them. Hey, I'm so excited to be working with you. Thank you for this contract. I just noticed that some of the pages look like they were shot through a microscope and some of them through a telescope. Do you have these that you can send me in a legible format in one PDF? That is not an outlandish request, because you can only do what you can do with what you have. That's it. And this agent tried to give her some crap excuse about, well, I just got a new printer. No, that stuff is saved somewhere in zip forms. It's somewhere. I don't take excuses like that from agents. Hey, look, I totally understand you just got a new printer. I don't even know what a printer is anymore. But anyway, is that in zip form somewhere that you could send me? I mean, you have to make them give you what you need. They cannot expect you to do with something that you don't have. That is unrealistic. And if you allow an agent to do that, oh my gosh, you will get the craziest stuff. And then they'll say, well, you did it that one time. Why are you changing now? You can't allow them to do that.
And then I have another question.
Okay.
When doing addendums, drafting them up for them, do you tell your agents that they need to give you the language, or do you just tell them to give you a ballpark of where, and then you usually just go with it?
So, I mean, I've been doing real estate for 20 years now. I got in 2000. So 99.9% of the time, I know more than my agents do. I educate my agents every single day. And that's the other cool thing is my TCs, even if they've never done real estate, they end up knowing more than their agents from the training they get from me. So it depends on how comfortable you are with those things. I'm incredibly comfortable writing an amendment. And I know what to do and what not to do. If you're not that comfortable, then it is a really good idea to tell that agent, hey, I'm ready to knock this out for you. Is there any specific language you want me to use? Because remember, it's how you word stuff. Don't send them an email back and say, nope, I don't write this unless you give me the language. That rubs people the wrong way. Hey, I'm super excited to do this amendment for you. Is there any specific language you want me to use? Now you've made a warm fuzzy with them. And if they say something like, no, they just want everything. Okay, then you can take the pages of the inspection report and attach them to the addendum so that it's literally just the inspection report. So it depends on your agent and your level of comfortability. I mean, there are some of my agents who I've literally sent a text to when I've seen their amendment, and I've told them, hey, you need to text the agent and tell them that you're retracting that amendment because that amendment is completely screwed up. And they're like, because they don't know how to write them. And if you can bring even that kind of a value to your agent, then your value proposition just went up.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's where, and then, I mean, because I felt really comfortable writing the addendums myself, but I mean, basically you just ask them simple things like you said, if it has to be repairs or they're doing a price change, either they'll just text it to you or they'll verbally call and just say, hey, we're going to 315 now. And you just go, okay.
I never do verbal, ever, ever, ever.
Oh, okay.
I will tell them, like I'll get a phone call and, hey, Dustin, yeah, we just got the inspection report back. Man, it's pretty clean. I think we're going to ask for the AC to be serviced. And there's one soffit that needs to be fixed. And we're going to do 500 in closing costs for the rest of the stuff. Can you knock that out? Man, absolutely. That's going to be pretty easy. Can you go ahead and text or email that to me so that I have it in writing? Oh, yeah, sure, man. I'll do that real quick. You want it in writing, always.
And then I didn't know in Texas if it's the same as Utah, but in Utah right now, it's super, super gray area for transaction coordinators. There aren't necessarily rules. They just try to say that you shouldn't. They don't say you can't. They just say you shouldn't write addendums if your license isn't hung with the brokerage of an agent you're working with. But
that's BS. There's a few states that are trying to do that right now. And the reason they're doing that is because brokerages are seeing how much money transaction managers are making. And so they're wanting to try and force that to go in-house so that they can control it. And they're never going to be able to do that.
okay.
They'll never allow that to happen. So you can I always just say, like, I'll have people who, will tell me stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, cool. Thanks for that info.
And I just have a quick question for you. So when a TC wants to work with you, do they have to have TC workflow?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Unequivocally.
That is required.
Yep. And they don't have to pay for it. I pay for it. I pay for their TC workflow and I build their checklist in their system.
Oh, you pay for their TC workflow.
Yep. Yeah. I cover the expense of TC workflow, their e-signature platform. They use my zip form. So I cover the cost of a few of those things. And part of that is for value proposition. The major part of it is for CYA. I'm going to cover my butt. And those people will either use my systems or they will not work with me.
Okay. But TC workflow is like $75 a month per user, I thought.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't care. I mean, what's $75 if I'm helping someone make $8,000 a month?
True.
And I'm making a percentage off of every one of those closings and I don't ever even see them.
Right. True. So how can we get more information about coaching?
I stopped coaching a few months back because it got so big. So I don't know that I'm going to do it, but Savannah, that's why Savannah reached out to me on Saturday and she was like, okay, look, we need to put this stuff into video. Because I have a lot of people who want to learn some of the things I do and how I do it, because I mean, I will help you grow your business. I will. I mean, there's just no doubt to that. I just have to be careful about the time I put into it because I become ask Terry, I become very invested in the people that I work with. I do. And I want to see them succeed because there's enough business out there for all of us in multiple amounts. I mean, there are something like 32,000 agents in San Antonio alone. Let's say that only 1% of those is producing. That's 3,200 agents. Can I handle 3,200 agents? Nope. I mean, there's a lot of business. And so I want to see all of us succeed, which is one of the reasons why I created that Facebook group. Because in the other groups, I was noticing this stinginess and this like steering towards certain, like that, what is that transaction coordinator, National Association of whatever transaction coordinators. I'm not going to pay for that stuff. What? I mean, I'll give you stuff. Why wouldn't I? I mean, it's not like you're going to affect my business. But there's this weird mentality that the community has of holding stuff, and I just don't want it to be like that. I think there's enough money for all of us to make. So I'll keep everyone posted on the videos because I think Savannah is going to jump on me about that now that we've had this Zoom thing.
Dustin, I really appreciate you having this call with us tonight. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Yeah, heck,
Yes,
yeah,
same here.
Thank you
We
so
should-
much. Thank you.
we should do one of them a month.
Yes, I would like that.
Agreed.
Yes.
Okay, I'll post this one on the Facebook group either tonight or tomorrow, and then let's work on setting a date for next month, and we'll just go ahead and get it on the schedule, and that way I'll know.
Okay.
Sorry,
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
one more question.
Okay.
I just saw today someone posted in one of the Facebook groups that they don't do agreements or contracts with their agent because they say it's a waste of time. Do you do contracts with your agents?
Nope.
You do not? Okay.
And that's another one of the value propositions is because look, if you, let's say you have an agent who does 1 deal a month, 5 deals a month, or 10 deals a month, and you make them sign a contract that they're going to give you work. One, that sets kind of a bad tone. It feels weird to me to make an agent bound to work with me. I don't want them to feel bound. I want them to feel loyal. The second thing that it does is, so let's say that agent gets a property that's $120,000 investment property and they get a cash offer on it that's closing in 2 weeks, and they're forced to pay me for that. No, I don't want to do that. I want to set long-term relationships with my agents. That's what I want. I want them to be so loyal to me that they don't think about going anywhere else.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. All right. If y'all have any other questions or whatever, shoot me a private message or you can text me. I think my number's on my Facebook page. You can shoot me a text or whatever, and I'll be available.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Yep. Y'all have a great night.
You
Thank
too.
you.